Hey y'all, it's Lindsey. I have literally 7 minutes before I need to move on to my next task. However, I had a bit of a problem with a video I put together this morning and then was trying to upload. So I decided I would just pop on live. I am going to just sort of give you an idea of how it has been going, whether or not going back to a high fat way of eating has helped me and just sort of what kind of changes that has given me over the past few weeks. If you are new here, thank you so much for being here. I am Lindsey, and I like to share a lot of what I eat in a day videos on a low carb way of life. And I do live streams pretty frequently. I do share recipe videos every now and again. And then I also will very rarely, like super rarely, have a food prep or a grocery haul or something of that sort in order, just like to share that piece of what I have going on in my life. So if any of that is interesting to you and you are new here, I would love for you to check out my channel and consider subscribing. And if you are a returning viewer, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for returning. Okay, I'm running out of time here. I've got to keep an eye on the time. So 3 weeks ago, I went live and I mentioned that I was going to go back to a high fat focus for my way of eating instead of sticking with my high protein that I had been doing for quite some time. I mentioned a few symptoms that I had been noticing, and I wanted to be sure to just like realign what I had going on in order to find a more optimal body I don't know, experience. So 3 weeks ago I went through, I went back to the high fat. I dropped my protein down to 65-ish grams. I'm not much for tracking. I'm not much for weighing and measuring. I will do that occasionally for videos, especially what I eat in a day videos. I am not sure who is flying out there, but they are low. And so I will occasionally share those pieces of information, but that is not generally my MO. I talked a lot about that in that live video that I hope to link once this is gone and finished processing and whatnot. But I also I understand the value of that to a lot of people. Okay, what else? I wrote out a small list of the things that I talked about in my video because this video situation has been a little bit frustrating for me. My internet is doing wonky things. If it cuts out, that'll just be the icing on the cake today. So one thing I did want to mention is I am not a healthcare practitioner. I have no medical training whatsoever. Everything that I share here on my channel is 100% descriptive, not prescriptive. So I'm just sharing my experience. I'm sharing the things that I'm doing within my life to try to achieve optimal health. And what you do with that is kind of your business, but it's this is just me sharing my present experience. So there is that. Okay, so 3 weeks I've been on the high fat train, really trying to draw back my protein. And I got to be honest, it is a little bit of a mind warp to go from wicked high protein to moderated protein. I'm not good at moderation for anything except carbs. Well, I mean, even then, I'm kind of an extremist, and I do pull back my carbs pretty mightily. So, okay, I should probably give a little bit more context. I am not quite 5'3", and my body set point tends to bounce between 145 and 152. That seems to be the sweet spot for my body. I have pretty broad shoulders and somewhat more narrow hips by comparison to my shoulders. So I tend to carry a lot of my weight in my torso, and that can sometimes be more detrimental to your heart health, which is kind of the point for me trying to be more focused on my health in general. But also I'm also very concerned about my hormones. I'm very mindful of insulin and diabetes potential, Alzheimer's, how all of these things are linked. It's not about weight for me. My body has been doing the same thing for the past, I don't know how many years, where it just wants to hang between 145 and 152. So that's not my hard focus. My hard focus is just overall health. So um, I'm getting a lot of different thoughts all at one time, which makes it a little bit frustrating. High fat has been going fairly well so far. I'm going to allow a lot of room for modification throughout this process. I tend to get super gung ho on one thing and then just go all in all the way. And then um, I sometimes can be blinded to the reality that maybe that thing is no longer working for me. And like I said, I'll try to remember to have that live where I first started diving into this, linked in the iCards or in the description of the video or the replay. So in 3 weeks, I have dropped 2 pounds and steadily kept it off. I know some of that has got to be some water weight, but it continues to decline. And typically with water weight on my frame, I've noticed it tends to be a bit of a whoosh and then maintain. So this has not been a full-blown like whoosh, as it were, where a lot comes off in a very short period of time and then it just sort of like stays static. Instead, this has been like a steady decline of 2 pounds. So some water weight for sure. Some other weight probably as well. And at the beginning of the year, I took some measurements, just over from my whole body, and I took some more measurements, and I have dropped 1 inch off of the smallest part of my waist, which I do care about that. I do care that I take off any excess around my midsection, just because there is a lot of correlation with how big around your waist is as compared to your heart health. So that is kind of the current situation with the higher fat. I've lost 1 inch around my waist and I have dropped 2 pounds. So good things thus far. I'm still very hesitant to commit 1000%, like this is it for me for eternity, because my body's always going to be fluctuating. It's always going to be, shifting, and I'm just going to have to learn how to adjust with it. And I feel like that's kind of been sort of the way that I've gone about this whole health experience the entire time. Even if I think in terms of absolute, I always allow space for change. What else? I know there was other things that I had mentioned that I totally forgot about. Ultimately, moving back to the high fat has been extremely beneficial, and I'm happy about that. I do feel more satiated. I do not feel like I am constantly driven by food right now. Again, hesitant to call that an absolute win. Very pro. It is currently working. And what else? There was something else. In the beginning of doing higher protein, I felt awesome. I felt like I was doing great. And then it started to wane a little bit, and I learned more about, um, it took a long time for it to wane, true story. But then I started to feel a little bit more foggy, and then started taking the iodine and supplementing with that. And I felt like my iron suit had been upgraded. And then once I met that equilibrium of what my body required for iodine, I kind of felt like some more of the fogginess coming back. And so that's kind of where that was. And I thought it was just the stress of life. And I'm sure there's been a multivariable situation in the whole equation, but I had never considered protein being that problem. So refocusing and changing over to the higher fat again has definitely been valuable thus far. Again, it is always a long-standing experiment to see what happens, and I need to report that. Let's get rid of that. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I'm not making any permanent changes, but for right now, everything is working out the way I would like it to in the high fat realm. So what else did I want to talk about? I think that might be about it. I've been on here for 10 minutes, which means that I need to hightail it to my next task. We're on a little bit of a time crunch today, which is why I was so jazzed that I was able to record this morning and get it working on the upload, and then technology and I disagreed on what I needed technology to be at that moment. So there was that. As far as trying to increase my fat and trying to satiate myself with fat versus protein, I have just really been being diligent with keeping more of my homemade mayonnaise on hand and using that as much as possible. The Perfect Keto MCT Oil Powders have been super great for helping me just hit those fat, hitting my fat in a day. And I really like those quite a lot. And the cinnamon toast one is definitely not my favorite. I know I've probably said that a few times, and it's just, everybody's tastes are somewhat different. That one is just not my jam. I will use it, but it's going to be one of those that I'm just like, okay, I'm using this one. But the strawberry, oh man, I'm excited to play around with some recipes with that. I really just like drinking it right now in my little club soda coconut milk mixture. I really love drinking the unflavored and the salted caramel MCT oil powders in my coffee. Those have been great. The cinnamon toast. Maybe I need to try cinnamon toast in a chamomile tea or something of that sort, and see what that. I'm sorry, y'all. Trying to get rid of some of that garbage. So I forget what I was talking about. The MCT oil powders in my drinks have been a great way for me to up my fat. Having more of my homemade mayonnaise on hand at all times has also really helped. I had to sort of meter the volume of homemade mayonnaise that I was consuming for a little bit because scheduling kind of got wonky and I ran out almost and I had to ration it, and that is never a place that I like to be. But yeah, so far it's going well with the high fat and being more judicious with the volume of protein. So here I am. We're just going to keep going on this track, and I've repeated myself way too many times, and I really have to get inside and move on to my next things. But I appreciate your time. If you are the replay viewers, thank you so much for fumbling through all of my ramblings. If you were here live, thank you for suffering through my ramblings as well. My video that I filmed was a little bit better put together, but this is the way it is going today, and I'm just going to roll with it. I will hope to see you. Nope, I won't will hope to see you. I hope to see you in my next video.